Greetings and good Monday morning, this 9th of January 2023, third decade of the 21st century. I always open with that, so if you're new to my channel for any reasons, if it's your first time, I always open with that because I always mean it to sink in so that people can pause and reflect on where people predicted us to be as a society versus where we are at a society. And more specifically, what things are popular, what conversations are we having, what topics are we discussing, how are we living our lives. So I always like to bring that up in a means to contrast where people predicted and where we're physically at. With that being said, this is the third video I'm putting out today to kind of play catch up to both December and the beginning of the year, and specifically from my one viewer that does take the time to respond. I know there's a few of you that take the time to watch my videos. Most of you are my friends, and if you ever get the chance, I know you may watch the video for a little bit, but I have one loyal viewer that often takes the time to respond to my videos. So this is for anybody that wants to respond, but specifically Stace, I'm going to put something out there for you, and would really look forward to your feedback, even if you have some experience with the topic or not. And if anybody else watches this and would like to provide feedback, please feel free to do so in the comments. That's what I most look forward to. So, without further ado, to say it loosely, without giving too much away, because God forbid my employer participates in cancel culture, I am what is classified as an educator. And I essentially teach a lecture once, sometimes twice a week, and then I maintain office hours to answer questions. So for all intents and purposes, if you needed to put a label on it, I would be considered an adult educator, an adult lecturer. And my wife works in the school system, and we oftentimes compare notes back and forth, whether with my students or the students that eventually come in after class. I have noticed a massive increase in the number of individuals that are really looking for someone to do everything for them. And I don't know if this is society. I don't know if it's got anything to do with us as parents, because I have, and this is why I'm bringing it up, I got two children. I've got a senior and a freshman in high school. One's going to graduate, the other one's got 3 more years. And I watch how these young individuals act. To put it bluntly, I work with service members when they're getting ready to get out. So whether they've done one contract, not going to finish a contract, multiple contracts, when service members are getting ready to exit the service, I teach them a lecture, so to speak, on some of the benefits and services available to them. And all of which have to be applied for. Nothing is given. Nothing is spoon-fed. All right? Nobody's wiping your butt. All right? There's a lot of stuff that one has to do. There's no crossing the finish line and here you go. Here's your participation award. And I am noticing a perceived increase in the amount of individuals who, I don't know if there's any one word for it, but there's this level of expectation that somebody is going to do it for them, that everything will be done for them. Like the number of, and these are military service members, all right, where by theory, by logic, by virtue of being in the military, you're already holding a higher standard, to include possibly a higher standard of conduct. I don't know. But these are individuals who, for whatever reason, for reasons I have yet to deduce, want everything done for them. And you should see the body language. You should see the expressions on their face when it's like, no, you have to do this. And they're just befuddled. Sorry, my nose is starting to. Furthermore, I'm also blown away at when you tell them, hey, here's what we can do. You bring in your own device, there's a couple of different things I can help you with, but it has to be on your device. And again, they're like, hang on, let me see if I get this straight. I not only have to bring in an electronic device that connects to the internet, but I have to physically do something? And the other day we were talking, and my coworkers and I, and we were talking about Back to the Future 2, where there's a scene inside of a restaurant where the kids are trying to get this vintage retro video game to play. But in 1985, it was a modern video game. And Michael J. Fox's character, Marty McFly, shows them how to use the retro, bang bang shoot 'em up. And the kids are like, oh, you gotta use your hands? What a baby toy. And the funny thing is, Back to the Future 2 was supposed to be 2015. Anyways, I'm very curious if anybody out there that's relatively close in age, I mean, without trying to give away a PII, I'll be 47 this year. So I wonder if anybody in a similar age bracket where, most of us had high school jobs. All right, we worked in high school. Most of us did something. Most of us know how to put in a day's work. Most of us know how to do things. I'm wondering if you're seeing the same thing. If you're seeing a large propensity for people of a certain age frame, a certain time frame, to want to have others to do it for them. And I've noticed when it comes to this thing here, this little smartphone, there's no age demographic for that. I've seen people my age, I've seen people older, I've seen people of all ages, just blind, deaf, and ignorant, willfully, because they're I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just this overwhelming propensity to not want to do anything and have others do it for them. And the expectation that others will do it for them. And I say that because even when I listen to my wife, and she works at an elementary school, and she gives me feedback, and it's like, without trying to give away too much, I just feel like in an effort to make progress, we've inadvertently taken a lot of steps back. And to give you the best example I can without giving away too much information, my wife works a lot with special needs kids, and from what we have deduced on our own without being experts, without doing clinical research, a lot of kids are not special. There's nothing special about them necessitating special needs. They're undisciplined. Oh, so you're saying they're ADHD. Well, I don't know if there's an overwhelming desire for practitioners to diagnose with ADHD. I don't know if parents are in such a desire to have their kids diagnosed with ADHD. I don't know. But my point being is, when I listen to my wife and some of her coworkers, some of these kids are not special. They need discipline. And look, I'm not here to discuss what my version of discipline is over your version of discipline. Whether or not I believe in a spanking or a good old-fashioned ass whooping, something that leaves the impression of consequences. And I've talked about that numerous times on my channel. But it gets to the same point. There's this phrase. It's been turned into a meme. Hard times produce hard men, and I would also venture to say, hard times produce hard men and women. Hard men and women produce good times. Good times produce soft men and women. And I've seen that going around a lot because I think there's a lot of validity to it. That a certain generation that grew up hard, making things better, has produced a softer generation. And the whole reason I'm talking about this, and why I've talked about similar topics in the past on my channel, I'm a father of two, and I look at my children, and I won't give anything away. I love them both dearly. They both have good qualities and bad qualities, as do everybody else, myself included. I have one child, fiercely independent. Fiercely independent. Doesn't want anything done for them. However, by virtue of being fiercely independent, fiercely stubborn and spiteful. You make a recommendation because it wasn't their idea? Absolutely not. Worst thing they ever heard. How dare you burden their ears and burden their time with having had listened to it? Like I said, there's good and bad. I've got another child, terribly obedient, well disciplined, listens intently, does exactly what they're told, but will not do anything above and beyond what they're told. Like a computer. All right? You program it to do something, it's going to do something. You don't tell it to do something, it won't do it. That same child is more than happy, like beyond content, to let others do things for them. And I often wonder if there's anything I could be doing better. Am I doing a disservice? Are me and my wife doing a disservice? Are we not doing our level best to do our absolute best to make productive members of society who can succeed on their own and do for themselves? And I say that because I watch the individuals I deal with. All right, these are, for all intents and purposes, full-blown adults. Some are leaving the service early, potentially still in their teens, most of which are in their early 20s, having completed their first contract. Occasionally I get somebody on a second or a third contract. Rarely do I get retirees, but the majority of who I get are what we call first-termers, one contract. And the overwhelming propensity is that they want somebody to do it for them. And I always have to remind myself, first and foremost, I am inundated on a daily basis with those who are wanting to get out, those who want to get out. Very rarely do I ever come across somebody that wanted to stay in but can't for any number of reasons. All right? The vast majority of people we deal with not only want to get out but cannot wait to get out. And on top of, so we don't exactly see the best of the best. We don't exactly see the people that are doing their level best to represent the best of the military. A lot of times we see people that are getting kicked out because the military was not a good fit. Some of them are still good people, they're just bad service members. Some of them are bad people and bad service members. We get all kinds. But I always have to remind myself that the people I'm most inundated with are the ones that want to get out. What still, to this day, blows my mind is the number of individuals, regardless of whether they want to stay in or get out, have zero desire to do anything for themselves. Like, I don't get it. Like, they're more than happy to drive, if they have a vehicle, anywhere they want. They're more than happy to play video games, which in some way, shape, or form is a physical action. They're more than happy to get on their phones, which is in some small way a physical action. Some of them are more than happy to go to the gym and physically exert themselves, but when it comes to something so simple as filling out an application, I've just noticed this overwhelming propensity to not want to. And then when I listen to my wife, I listen to this overwhelming propensity for a lack of discipline, where, you know, it's not that the individual's dumb, smart, just lack of discipline. Sit still, shut your mouth. So I'm going to leave it at that. Stace, this was mostly directed at you and for you to comment on as its own separate thing. Anybody else who watches this, I don't care about likes, subscribes, notifications. I don't care about any of that. I am more interested in comments. And something else I'm going to try differently. If you have your own channel and you stumble onto this and you want to do your own thing on your own channel, by all means, leave your link in the comments and I'll go check it out. Because all I'm really interested in is trying to increase communication. That being said, if you leave a comment and you get involved in the conversation by whatever means necessary, I appreciate it. And you're awesome. Till next time.